So in theory, I'm at the halfway point in my CDL school, so I wanted to update you on how it's going. So most CDL schools in Washington State, they run for 4 weeks. The first week is doing classroom things to prepare you for just the written state test so you can get your commercial permit. And then the remaining 3 weeks are a combination of pre-trip inspection, driving, and backing. So I did the classroom portion remotely in December, and now I am doing the actual in-person stuff. And so in theory, I should have been able to do this program in about 3 weeks, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. So let me first talk about how this particular school works. So most schools, you sign up for a class and you go through with a group of students who are all at the same level as you. This school is open enrollment, which means that people just sign up and they show up kind of whenever they want. As long as they finish the program within 6 months, then the school is totally fine with it, and you can just get your hours however you need it and until you're done. So that means that there's a bit of chaos at the school, which isn't always a bad thing. In some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad. And so all the students are at different levels, and you sign up for times to drive, in theory. The reality is, of course, that no one actually does their driving at the time that they're assigned, but that's okay. Usually everyone that shows up actually gets to go out on a drive, which is good, but everyone is at a different level there, and the instructors don't always know which person you are and what level you're at. And so that can cause some problems sometimes with doing things like actually getting the hours you need. So the first off, the things that I have done. So the pre-trip inspection, which is probably the most difficult thing to do. It's basically just a memory test. It's not really how anyone actually inspects trucks, but you have to go around the truck and basically point out things and say what can go wrong with them. And you have to do a pressure test with the air brake system to make sure all of those systems are functioning properly. Again, it's something that you might do in reality periodically, but it's not something that you would do every morning. There's other more important things that you would actually look at. The pre-trip inspection is an actual script, and you just have to memorize it, and that's how it goes. So I had that memorized sometime in the middle of last week. It took me only about a week and a half, maybe a little bit less to memorize it. That doesn't mean it's perfect, and I can repeat it perfectly every time. It still is going to take a little bit more practice and going through it with other people to make sure that I can do it consistently for the test, but it's basically there. So as far as driving goes, I'm doing the manual transmission truck because I don't want an automatic restriction on my license. I want as many options as possible for working. And so that means for me, the hardest part is just learning how to shift. So it took me a few days to kind of figure out exactly how to do it, and by a few days I mean a few hours, because I'm only getting in between half an hour and an hour a day of driving. And at this point, it's mostly just learning how to manage the trailer behind you when you're driving around, and making sure that you're looking where you're supposed to for the test, and making sure the tester knows that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And honestly, that part isn't that hard. I can pretty much do everything. I'm not saying it's perfect 100% of the time now, but I feel like I could be ready to test probably by the end of the week, given how other students that have tested have done. I'm pretty sure I could test by the end of the week and pass the test. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen this week. The biggest problem that I had with driving is actually just getting the hours in, and making sure that I actually get seat time in the trucks. You have to really be on the instructors to actually, take you out. And that's a problem. It's a big problem. In theory, you should be able to finish this in 3 weeks, but in reality, we have to do 18 hours of driving. And when you're only doing half an hour to an hour a day of actual driving, that's a big problem. It takes a long time to actually build up hours that way. So that's something that has improved over time. The trucks aren't always available because a lot of times they are out being used for testing. And we had some breakdowns last week with one of the trucks, and so it was out of commission for a few days. And so that restricted the number of available trucks to actually do things with. So this might be a continuous problem at the school because the trucks are being used for other things, and there's only so many instructors to go around between all the students. And between those two things, it's hard to get seat time. Things have improved. I've already been getting a lot more seat time this week than I did last week, and definitely a lot more than the week before. And hopefully that continues on this trajectory. and I'll be able to actually graduate in a reasonable amount of time. Backing is one of those things, once you kind of understand what you're supposed to do for each of the 3 tests that we do for backing, it's actually not that difficult, and I pretty much figured it out today, and I haven't had a lot of time to actually do any backing. In the last 2 weeks I put in an entire 3 hours of backing, and fortunately today that wasn't too busy, so I got an entire 3 hours of backing in throughout the day, which basically doubled the amount of backing time I have, and I have to do, I think it's 16 hours of backing total before I can take the test. So hopefully I am able to continue getting several hours in a day of backing and getting that practice in, even though I've pretty much figured out how to do it. I should be able to do it proficiently every time by the end of the week, I'm sure. I can almost do that now. So that's a really good sign, but again, it's just getting that seat time in. The trucks are out all the time. Anytime a truck comes in, we have to stop backing because whatever truck is actually out driving has to come in and turn around, and that takes up the whole backing area. And there's a bunch of other students that also need backing time, so we take turns doing it, but it's not a lot of hours per day of actual backing, which is unfortunate. So overall, things are going really well. I feel like I'm actually pretty well prepared for the test, and I would be totally willing to take the test at the end of this week. I'm prepared for it. I think my instructors, they all think I'm prepared for the test, but because I have to get this certain number of hours in, it's probably going to take me 2 full weeks, so it's going to be the rest of this week and the week after that. I have enough funds set aside that I can do this for actually several weeks extra, so I'm not too concerned about that. The only problem maybe, I don't know when I will be able to actually take the test. There's a sign on the door saying that the tests are being scheduled 6 weeks out, but I don't think that's true right now. It seems like people are being able to schedule themselves like a week or 2 out. So I think that's probably what's actually going to happen in reality, and I haven't had the patience to extract that particular amount of information from my instructors because I'm mostly concerned about actually just getting them to take me out and drive, and that's really what I'm focused on right now. So it's all really good news. I actually think the school's going well despite some of the issues, and I'm looking forward to getting out of here and getting out of the school. So I'll give you an update in a week or 2 and let you know how things are going, probably right before I take the test, whenever that is.